All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 2025 edition of the North Precinct Advisory Council. Somebody pointed out to me that at November I said 2026. We're not there yet. It's just flying by, though. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving weekend. And thank you for joining us. We do have a slight change to the agenda, so we have a little more flexibility. That is that the care unit, which is going to start doing a standing update, had to cancel at the last minute. Something else came up. Um, and the captain will be joining us from his squad car on his phone. So that, I don't know what the picture is going to be like. Uh, could be interesting, but he always has a great update. So we'll look forward to him even by phone. So again, thanks for coming. If this is your first time at North Pack, hang on, let me just do this. If this is your first time at North Pack, just a reminder of who we are. The North Precinct Advisory Council is all volunteer community members. We all live in different neighborhoods of North Seattle served by the SPD North Precinct. We've been around for over 25 years, and some of you have been joining us for most of that, so we appreciate that. I see ongoing faces like Kay and some others. Hi. So we appreciate you being here. Our goal is to keep the lines of communication open between the North Precinct and those of us they serve in the north end of Seattle. We think that working together on problems is the best way to approach it. We can't solve everything, but one of our goals is to make sure that our communities are educated about how to get things done in Seattle. That's one of the reasons we invited our speakers for tonight. They are a great resource that a lot of people don't necessarily know about. So thank you for coming. As a reminder, if you have questions, please focus them into the chat. Occasionally we have time to open the mic for questions, but not often. So, get it into the chat and it has a better chance of being addressed. And you can put it in at any time. Even if your question is for the captain and he speaks at the end, that's fine. Put it in early because I will read the questions to the speakers. Keep your comments focused and, of course, respectful. One of the things we want to do is talk to each other. We can't hear each other when we're shouting. And this has been a great group for being some great conversations. So we really appreciate the way all of you participate. And again, we want diverse conversations. So if you're one of those people very comfortable in a group setting, raising your hand, and you put it up a lot, please don't be offended if I don't call on you all the time or just because you got it up first, because we're looking to get questions from a variety of people, which is, again, another reason to use the chat. We can try and get as many things addressed by our speakers as possible. I want to remind you all that although you see my face a lot, the board is doing a lot of the work, all of us together behind the scenes. Susan Strank is our vice president, Leon Seaman, Diane Vincent, Nancy Rawhauser, and Melinda Jackson are at-large board members. I also want to note that Claudia Wold, who was an at-large board member, is no longer on the board. If the board is something you're interested in considering, reach out to us and we can appoint members during the year. It's not an elected position. And we can give you information about what that entails. It's not a huge time commitment and you might find it interesting. Also, checking to see if we've got some of our city council members or their representatives. We typically have folks from districts 4, 5, and 6 on. I don't see them at this moment. Usually we have Wendy Sykes from Maritza Rivera's office, Paul Menifee from Deborah Juarez's office, and Joel Raphael from Down Strauss's, which is District 6. One last announcement before we dive in is that, just a reminder, our next meeting is the first Wednesday of January 2026. And at that meeting, we will have the care unit doing a presentation. We're going to have them focus in more on 911 and some of the things about how that works. So mark your calendar for the first Wednesday in January. We will be back on Zoom. And with that, I am going to thank both Denise Colvin and Sunny Nguyen from the Department of Neighborhoods for joining us tonight. We have had folks from the Department of Neighborhoods join us over time in the past, but we kind of lost track in a little bit between us when COVID hit. And so we thought that what we would do is invite them back. I think there's a lot of folks who don't really know entirely what Department of Neighborhoods do and can do. They're a wonderful resource. And there are things that you might find they can direct you to because they know a whole lot about how the city works and how to get things done. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to Denise and Sunny. And thank you both very much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about all of Dawn's different programmings, and there be some that we can draw some direct lines to like community safety and public safety work, but I'm going to leave a lot of that for Denise to talk about at the end as our community safety and capacity building manager. So Denise, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the slideshow, and while the slides are on, I'm just going to turn my camera off so you don't see me looking back and forth awkwardly and not finding my camera.
Yeah, just give me
All right.
no, it's up there. Um, I don't think. Okay, we're good.
Perfect.
All right.
So like I said, we are here from the Department of Neighborhoods, and we do a lot of times people ask like, what does the Department of Neighborhoods do? And what basically everything is how I like to describe it. Anything that you need from the city, the Department of Neighborhoods is able to help facilitate or make happen. Particularly the community engagement coordinators, we are a powerhouse team of four, which I think is about to become five. Um, so I am the North Seattle Community Engagement Coordinator right now, but I am leaving my post on Tuesday, December 9th, and stepping away from the city for a bit. But there will be other community engagement coordinators that will be able to help and support you. So what does a community engagement coordinator do? Uh, so we do, I like to call us vibes managers. Our job is to go out into the city, come to meetings like this, and then go back to City Hall and report out to the different departments based on what the community is expressing. So you might say like, there's this pothole that I keep reporting on Find and Fix It and it hasn't been fixed. We'll take that Find and Fix It number from you. We'll go call our friends at SDOT and see what's taking so long. That was just a hypothetical example. SDOT is great and responds to your Find and Fix It's. I don't want people thinking I'm talking crap about them. Um, we also support outreach and engagement planning across the city family. So when OPCD is like, we need to do um, some zoning updates as they did last year or outreach for it last year, we help plan that outreach and engagement and let them know who in our different communities need to be a part of different processes. All right, next slide. So the CECs exist in a team at Dawn called the Civic Engagement Team. So other parts of the Civic Engagement Team include the People's Academy for Community Engagement. So that is basically a civic boot camp. One of our colleagues, Laura Jenkins, trains groups and cohorts to know how legislation works, understand the different parts of city government, understand different responsibilities of different departments, and it basically makes you like the elite, well-informed citizen of Seattle. We also manage the boards and commissions within the Department of Neighborhoods. So amongst those are the Indigenous Advisory Council, which is created in collaboration with Indigenous leaders and tribal leaders within and around Seattle. There's a Community Involvement Commission, which advises and guides City Council and the Mayor on equitable outreach and engagement. The Seattle Youth Commission, which works to ensure that young people are being heard in their civic processes here in Seattle. And the Seattle Renters Commission, which works to ensure that renters are being listened to in policy discussions. All of those boards and commissions, I believe, or you can apply for any of them by going to the Dawn website. I believe most of them right now are looking for, have one or two spots that may be looking for members. Um, and we'll go next slide. I'm seeing some stuff pop up in the chat. We'll get to the P-patch and stuff too. So next up is strategic partnerships. So we have a kind of like I like to think of it as an internal version and external version of this team. So internally is the equity and engagement advisors. You will see them externally in the community, but their job is to support different city teams on equity and outreach, or equity in their outreach and engagement processes. They partner with different city departments for very specific projects a lot of the time. Like SPU wants to do work around a specific project coming up, then an equity engagement advisor will help them design the outreach engagement for that, and oftentimes help them conduct that outreach engagement. And then the external is the community liaisons. So these are independent contractors connecting underserved communities with city government. So there are dozens of community liaisons for different languages, different communities, different cultural aspects within our city. They provide interpretation for outreach and engagement, translation on posters and flyers and surveys, and then they help guide the outreach and engagement of Department of Neighborhoods and other departments to make sure that we are being culturally humble and culturally competent. All right, next one. This is a lot of people's favorite, the pea patch gardens. There are over 90, I believe, pea patch gardens across Seattle, and over 3,500 gardeners in those pea patches. Don manages all of them and focuses on supporting low-income and historically underrepresented communities. I highly recommend you all go visit some of your local gardens. The picture here, I believe, is Ballard Pea Patch. Um, uh, every pea patch is different. Every pea patch is made of the specific people that plant and garden and steward that area. So some of them are full of beautiful tile art or flower gardens. I know the Up Garden, the pea patch closest to me has a little sensory garden, which is very fun and cute. Um, Next slide. So we also do historic preservation. So that's the designation and the protection of historic landmarks and historic districts, doing people-centered, inclusive, community-driven preservation. So it's not just like this is old and so it's important, but what is the story that this tells about our city that we want to preserve for future generations to learn from? Amongst those historic districts in North Seattle are the Sandpoint Naval Air Station, Ballard Avenue, and Fort Lawton, pictured here. Going into the next slide. So neighborhood matching fund is a lot of people's favorite part of Dawn because it's the part where we kind of just give away a bunch of money. Um, so there are two funds that we provide matching dollars through, and the first one is Community Partnerships Fund. So that's our bigger one. There are deadlines in March and September, and those are up to $50,000. This year we gave money to Lake City Pioneer Days Parade Association that puts on the Lake City Summer Festival, I believe. And then there's a rolling basis Small Sparks Fund, which you can apply anytime throughout the year, about 6 to 8 weeks before you want to start your project. Um, and that we recently gave some of that money to Wallingford Porch Fest. But for a lot of things like these utility boxes or maybe lighting improvements or like a block party in the park to like increase activation and more eyes on the street. Um, is gonna be that Small Sparks Fund, or some of the larger projects would be Community Partnerships Fund. We highly recommend if you have an idea that you're not so sure how you're gonna make it happen, all you need to do is find a fiscal sponsor and then apply, and then our wonderful grant managers will help you figure out how to get to it, yes. Next slide is our Food Equity Fund, another Dawn giving away money part. The Food Equity Fund creates sustainable and responsible and equitable food systems, serving BIPOC communities, elders, low-income families, young people, etc. Recently, the Food Equity Fund awarded Family Works to be able to expand their food access across North Seattle. I believe the Food Equity Fund is closed right now. Don't know for how long, unfortunately, but you can email foodequityfund@seattle.gov if you have questions about when it may or may not open up. And that's a general overview of most of our programming. I will hand it over to Denise now.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you for having us. Again, my name is Denise Colvin. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Community Capacity and Safety Manager with Department of Neighborhoods. And obviously, that is not my picture on the screen. I will get into who that is with a description of that. But Essentially, my role, it's a new role in this Department of Neighborhoods and within the city of Seattle. And the goal for my role is to create a unified approach to community safety across interdepartmental teams, lead the development of a framework, strategies, and communication plan for Dawn's community safety portfolio, provide guidance, strategy, and leadership to our community safety contracts and partners, and design and implement a model that builds community capacity to improve public health and safety. And what you'll see on the screen is the photo of Wyatt Hoffman. So currently I manage 4 community safety contracts. They exist in the South Park, Ballard, CID, and Capitol Hill neighborhoods. Wyatt Hoffman, he is our Ballard Public Safety Coordinator. And I'll give you just a little description about what he does because each neighborhood has different needs. Therefore, each community or a public safety coordinator operates differently. So for Wyatt, he's the Ballard Public Safety Coordinator, now known as the Ballard Community Hub Coordinator. He facilitates relationships, outreach, and communication in the community by identifying and tracking crime patterns and community concerns of public safety, providing follow-up support to business owners and residents who have been impacted by criminal activity, including assistance with crime reporting, coordination with the Seattle Police Department, the Seattle City Attorney's Office, and the King County Prosecutor's Office. He manages the Ballard Safety Slack channel, a tool that is used to communicate online with Ballard business owners, and he conducts twice weekly safety walks around the district. So that's an example of the needs of Ballard that Wyatt supports. That's not exhaustive. I mean, there's a ton of things that come up. I know they do a lot of CPTED work, which is community policing through environmental design. We hope to be able to expand. I know that there's interest based on the Seattle City Council to expand our community safety contracts. So ideally, we would have those in every neighborhood in Seattle that we support. But this is a new model. It seems to be working well, and we just want to be able to be out in the community as much as possible. Also want to distinguish that community safety to us is not the same as public safety. I think public safety has some really hard definitions. So, police, fire, care, emergency responders, those are public safety folks. We even consider like SPU, the utilities, public safety as well, SDOT, public safety as well. We are more community safety, which are things that are not wrapped up in public safety. So they could be issues around health, food insecurity. A lot of what's coming up for us is de-escalation training for our community safety coordinators and residents in the community. So there's a number of different things that kind of encompass community safety, and we just kind of want to be an outlet and a tool and a resource for our neighbors in Seattle. And that is the end of our presentation. Thank you for having us. I guess I will stop sharing right now.
That's great. And so let's go to questions. What I typically do is go ahead and read them. That way they get into the recording a little more directly. Let's see. Yeah, folks are calling out that Department of Neighborhoods also does run the P-Patch program. It's wonderful. Like they said, if you haven't checked it out, you should. Jeff in Haller Lake says DON did a grant to start the Haller Lake Emergency Hub. And where I live in Broadview, that's also been the case. Question from me. Department of Neighborhood Engagement Coordinators have really large areas to cover. Is your department at its full staffing?
That is an excellent question. As you saw on the map, there are currently 4 regions that the CECs work in. That's North, Central, Southeast, and then Southwest, which is also West Seattle and South Park. Right now, there are 4 CECs. Starting next Wednesday, there will be down to 3. I don't imagine that'll be for very long. This is a very exciting job, and there's a lot of folks that would be excellent at it. So they'll get back to full staffing shortly, I'm sure. And we are in talks right now within the department to figure out how we want to sparse out a 5th CEC coming in. So how are we going to redraw some of those boundaries to include a 5th person? For any of you who have been in Seattle for a while, you may remember the neighborhood district coordinators, which is had similar jobs to the CECs back when there was the the district councils, the neighborhood district
Yes.
councils. There were 12 of them. So we know that we cannot provide the same level of service as when there were 12 of us. But we are excited to do what we can. And if you think that there should be more CECs, just like if you think there should be more crime prevention coordinators at ESTA, please talk to your council members come budget time.
Great. Nancy has a question. Could a small Sparks grant be as little as, say, buying the annual Zoom license for NorthPac, less than $200, or is because we have no budget? Or is there a city department that would be more likely or willing to grant a small amount like that?
So I have two answers, three things to say to that. The first thing is that I don't work for that grant team, so I don't want to like commit them to anything or like accidentally misspeak. So please send that question over to nmfund@seattle.gov. But to my understanding, that is something that it would cover. Um, I would recommend though, maybe instead of just like we want to buy the annual Zoom license, maybe figuring out if there are other capacity building measures that you could include as well to
Right.
beef up that a little bit more and make it a few more hundred or $1,000 to really make the application process worth it for you all. Um, but in terms of other places that might be willing to grant a small amount like that, I would reach out to your friends over at SPD. Now it's coming to the end of the year. They might have some underspend in their community engagement fund that maybe they'd be able to share out. I'm not sure what the rules around their funds are.
Yeah, that hasn't worked so far. And
Okay.
we try to we're not part of Seattle Police, so we try to keep things very
Hmm.
separated, but those are always good options. We've had some wonderful businesses that have donated, so that's been great. Okay, so Maxwell wants to know, with the recent noise and crime complaints at Magnuson Park, could Department of Neighborhoods have played a role in addressing the problem? Or were you involved behind the scenes and we didn't know it?
We were not directly involved behind the scenes. We helped facilitate conversations and brought the park rangers, SPD, etc., mayor's office to different tables to have conversations with the community. But we didn't really do any of the like planning or process work for the strategies that came out of it.
Okay. Um,
I've
and
also been gone for 3 months, so maybe I'm wrong. Denise, let me know if I have misspoke.
I'm not aware of anything.
Okay.
We definitely didn't do anything, and as a community safety program.
yeah, okay, great. Don Blakeney is saying Wyatt does great work. Okay, good. Susan, what is the difference between the crime prevention coordinators and the community hub public safety coordinators? CPCs do CPTED as well.
I can take that. Yeah. So, thank you for the question. Crime prevention coordinators are positions that exist within the Seattle Police Department. Sunny and myself, work in the Department of Neighborhoods, and my position is Community Capacity and Safety Manager. I manage 4 community safety contracts in the Ballard neighborhood, South Park, CID, and Capitol Hill. I also have 2 other contracts that I manage that are based on CPTED, so the community policing through environmental design. CPTED is the acronym CPTED. So the crime prevention coordinators, they do the CPTEDs. They're certified to do the CPTEDs, but a lot of these community or public safety coordinators, such as Wyatt, are receiving training to be to get certified to do CPTED evaluations as well. With regard to the title, I just want to get real technical here. Our contract name for Wyatt's position is Public Safety Coordinator. Each person in that role, so Wyatt and his counterparts in the other neighborhoods, they have decided to change their titles to something else that's more representative of what that neighborhood needs. I'm not quite sure. But as far as our contracts are concerned, they're referenced as public safety coordinators.
Okay, great. Um, Nancy asks, for community safety, does Don have strategies or help to educate communities to help protect our immigrant neighbors from ICE?
Yeah, so we have some materials that we bring with us when we do general outreach and engagement about knowing your rights and things like that. We let Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs lead the way on that, so they're the experts with a lot of these communities, and we just kind of do what we're told to best support their work there. But we do a lot of the Don staff have access to resources to bring with us when we go to a place that we know is going to have some communities that may benefit from that information. And it's something we talk about and think about as we plan events and have community dialogues and things like that.
Great. If you want to send us any electronic copy of those things, we can send them out with our minutes after the meeting. And actually, we'd love to get a copy of your presentation after the meeting too. Susan has a question. Still a little confused as to what the roles are in Dawn, especially since the names seem to have changed. Could you go over again the roles in Dawn? And I think part of that to me also was that kind of internal external role.
Yeah. Uh, so a bunch of teams over at Dawn here. So we've got community engagement coordinators. We have PACE, People's Academy for Community Engagement. Um, we have equity and engagement advisors that work in the city with different city staff to help them be more equitable in their outreach. And then we have community liaisons who help do that outreach in equitable ways for us and for other departments as well. We've got the Pea Patch Gardens and their managers. We have the Historic Preservation team, the Neighborhood Matching Fund team, Food Equity Fund, and then Community Safety and Capacity.
Great. Okay. Um, okay. I put this in there. What types of things can the contracted community hub folks do and not do in those
They can
communities?
do, yeah, they can do law enforcement. They can work closely with the Seattle Police Department. They can't physically like restrain anybody. They're not considered security guards. There's also a separate contract in Ballard and the CID for what we call public safety ambassadors. And so Wyatt's role and other folks in his position, they manage the ambassadors. Those are the people that are actually kind of walking through the neighborhoods, trying to de-escalate or move along people that are maybe loitering or whatever kind of disorder may be occurring in the neighborhood. The ambassadors kind of address that directly. So the coordinators, such as Wyatt, they schedule meetings, they coordinate training. So for instance, de-escalation, crisis intervention training. They work a lot with the business owners and try to like triage. I would say they do a lot of triage of community concerns around safety issues outside of public safety. So again, there are hard public safety lines in terms of police, fire, emergency responders, and again, SDOT, SPU, and City Light could also be considered public safety as well. So they're coordinators. They work with us. They are considered technically contractors via the City of Seattle Department of Neighborhoods, and our contracts fund their positions. So we pay for that role. And then they have, based on the statement of work, some duties and assignments that been negotiated based on the needs of the neighborhoods.
Right. Okay. Leon asks, would it be possible for you to have a contract in Northeast Seattle to have a public safety coordinator here?
I would love that. And what I would say is in all of your neighborhoods, please encourage your council members. I know that there's interest. I believe that is how we got the ones that we have now. This program has existed since 2016, and it definitely was a result of community advocacy, specifically around the murder of Donnie Chen in the Chinatown International District, or CID, which I keep saying. So yeah, it's the community advocacy, I think, that really kind of push on those councils, because that's where the money comes from, is the council.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
important to note that Dawn does not have like a bucket of money that we can like reallocate to different neighborhoods. Each neighborhood is like specifically legislated to get this money.
Okay. Don, with the U District says one of the North Seattle's most challenging public safety issues is faced is the U District with an entrenched drug market that has taken over University Way and Brooklyn Avenue, causing business closures and even several homicides over the last couple of years. By way of comparison, roughly 3,000 people a day use Magnuson Park and 25,000 use the Ave. So this impacts a lot of people. We are working with SBD. We would love to employ a range of interventions to make this area safer. Is there a role for Department of Neighborhoods to support this work in the U District?
Yeah. So Don, I see you're with U District Partnership. Um, we do have a contract with you guys, I think. So we do have a community safety related contract with the University District. It's a little bit different. I think it might be a consulting contract, possibly exploring hiring this type of role. I'm not really quite sure, but I know that it's related, it's adjacent, but it's not the same thing. I also do believe that the U District just started getting ambassadors, if I'm not mistaken. Don, you may know, but would love to have more activity and more resources available for the University District. Again, I think employ your council representatives.
Yeah, and your community engagement coordinator will be able to help do some of that like non-policing conversations for that area as well, like um, the beautifications and the lightings and things like that.
Okay.
Great. So that's the person who's going to replace your role when you
Yes,
step back. Okay. So we can maybe connect offline about how to best plug in with that person. And I know we do have a contract for some ambassador hours support for the ambassador team, which is great. I think we would really benefit from a Wyatt position though.
I agree.
I think that that's something that we could totally. So I'm happy to talk to council member. I see that she's not here tonight, but the council member about like the benefit of that. That would be great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So Nancy is speaking actually for our board. We've had struggles over the years trying to attract more diverse members to participate on a regular basis. If we reached out to Department of Neighborhoods, could you give us some coaching and strategies for better outreach?
absolutely. Actually, some of the folks on this call I met first when I was doing a training for the emergency hub captains to be able to do better outreach and engagement with their communities as well. So we do have a training that the community engagement coordinators do. It doesn't even have to be specifically the North Seattle Community Engagement Coordinator. We're all able to give this. I'm going to put an email into the chat, and this is an email that goes to or it goes to an inbox shared by all the community engagement coordinators and our managers. So if you have a community engagement coordinator question, after I've left on next Tuesday, someone will still be able to get back to you.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Max is asking, so we have a better understanding. Can you give an example of one project that two of your teams have completed? What kind of projects are you doing?
You
Hmm.
want to, how about I'll tell you something that I'm actually excited about on the community safety end. So one of the things that has come up recently and it's been in the newspaper a lot is everything going on in Little Saigon and specifically the prolific EBT fraud and the circle of black market that supports there. And so one of the things that I've been doing is working closely with the Friends of Little Saigon, which is a community organization, on a campaign to help educate the residents, particularly senior residents who are more vulnerable to purchasing or selling EBT cards. So working with them on an educational campaign, doing research for them on the actual laws, getting them everything, all the information that they need to provide to their neighborhood to kind of help, particularly people that are non-English, like English is not their first language, help them really understand like the impacts and how deep it goes and like what that money is really fueling in that neighborhood and that it's actually illegal and you can lose your benefits and possibly go to jail. So there are a lot of implications. And I think a lot of people, when it comes to EBT fraud, it feels harmless. It seems like it may be harmless. They don't really understand how it's fueling that black market economy there. So that's something I'm really excited about partnering with our neighbors in Little Saigon about.
That's
Sunny.
great. That's
And
great.
my
Go
team
ahead.
is not really like a project-based team, but we kind of consistent outreach and engagement. I think something that I worked on before I recently took my leave was supporting our equity engagement advisors and our community liaisons to help parks plan out their outreach and engagement process for design review of the Lake City Community Center. So we did a lot of conversations with them.
Nice. Thank you. I know, Denise, you've already kindly replied to Rudy, but I will also call out in case anyone else is interested. Rudy Pantoya, they're doing making sandwiches. It's going to be December 9th at 5:30 to 7 at Taki's Mad Greek. 250 sandwiches and to feed the poor, a fantastic opportunity. So Rudy's always really great about letting us know when some of these events are going on. So if you're interested, look in the chat, folks, and let Rudy know, and I'm sure they'd love some more hands. That would be great. Thank you, Rudy. Let's see, we've got the contact info for Department of Neighborhoods. Thank you. Rudy, I'm not sure where that comment's coming from, but okay. Let's see. You'll get the various PAC to work together and have a website together? I guess that's for us. And if you're talking about like the North PACs, or are you talking about a Department of Neighborhoods question, Rick? I guess I'm not entirely clear, but so when he references a PAC, what does that mean to you, Denise? You answered having.
Yeah. Yeah, happy to expand. So I just recently discovered that there are many police advisory councils. So I believe that's what he means, but by PAC. You guys are North Precinct, but we also have LGBTQ PAC, African American PAC. So various neighborhoods and BIPOC communities are represented by these police advisory councils. I definitely think that there needs to be more of a connection, more cross collaboration across the neighborhoods and the various whatever category they're separated into. There definitely needs to be more connection, so I'm aware.
And so I wasn't sure if he meant our PAC, so I actually can answer that one really directly. Like the North Precinct Advisory Council has been around for over 25 years. We're actually the only one that's kind of still standing. The others have fallen apart quite a bit in terms of the community-based advisory councils. SPD supports the demographic PACs. And so you can reach out. They do have one website. It's a city website. And again, that distinction is that is a part of SPD that supports those groups, where something like North PAC is independent and community-based. So we manage our own agendas, et cetera. And of course, our goal is to work closely with North Precinct Advisory Council. We do regularly reach out to the other PACs, and I encourage them if they'd like to join us, but they are not fully functional, to be honest. But the demographic PACs do meet regularly, and that's a great resource. They announce their meetings. You should consider attending, folks, if you're interested. Okay, let's see. I think we're getting close. And Susan has just put the link to the demographic PACs in the chat. And I think Rudy's doing a call out for wanting more Hispanic representation. And so I think we're right about at time. That's really great. Thank you so much. This has been really helpful. I feel like, first of all, I'm kind of standing here thinking, my God, your jobs are huge. When you've just gone through everything you're touching on, it's like, oh gosh, I hope you get to go home at night. But it sounds wonderful and interesting. So thank you for taking the time. We will make sure we include the contact information within our minutes when we send them out. And if we get a copy of your presentation, we'll send that out too, and we'll let you know when the recording is done and available on our YouTube channel. So thank you both very much. We appreciate it, especially it's kind of a great way to get into December. Some really interesting information about things that people can reach out and get help with. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, now let me adjust to the screens just a skosh here. There we go. All right, and Megan Westfall, it's your turn on the agenda. Thank you for being here. Go for it. You're on. Thank you.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. As Katie said, I'm Megan Westfall. I'm with the Seattle City Attorney's Office. As most of you know, I work out of the North Precinct as the liaison attorney for my office, real close with the command staff, with the project officers, and also with our crime prevention coordinators. My topic tonight is completely different from what Dawn just talked about, which was very interesting and insightful to hear. But I thought with the holiday season in full swing, it might be a good time to kind of focus on the work that my office does surrounding impaired driving. Unfortunately, this time of year, there tends to be a spike in the number of people who drive impaired. Most of the time, it is not intentional. Someone goes to a holiday party and has one drink too many and decides to make a poor decision to get behind the wheel of a car. So I do think it's a good time to really talk about the work we do and highlight the work that's being done in that area, because investigating impaired driving by SPD and then prosecuting impaired drivers, it really is a great tool to keep our community safe. And so in my office, we are responsible for prosecuting all of the driving under the influence cases that occur in the city of Seattle that don't rise to a felony. And I wanted to talk about what those felony level offenses are, because sometimes there is kind of some confusion because some really horrific collisions or even some kind of bad injuries oftentimes don't rise to that level and end up being prosecuted as a misdemeanor. So if there's a felony that involves, and those felony cases would go to the King County Prosecutor's Office for prosecution, and they have a fantastic unit there. I believe, and Casey can correct me if I'm wrong when it's his turn to speak. I believe Amy Friedheim is still chairing that unit, and she's fantastic. She's been doing this work for as long as I can recall, and very well respected in that field. But so if there is any serious bodily harm, broken bones, long-term injuries, things like that, that would be a vehicular assault, and that would be a felony. Of course, if there's a fatality, that's going to be a vehicular manslaughter, and that would go to the county. And then there's one kind of final category of DUI where it rises to a felony level, and that's if a person has 3 prior convictions for a DUI in a 10-year period. That fourth one then is going to be prosecuted as a felony. And so my office is really fortunate that we have a dedicated traffic safety resource prosecutor housed within our office. This is a nationwide program that's funded through grants. And the city of Seattle received its first grant for this in, I believe, 2007 or so. And really the program has been thriving ever since. This prosecutor has changed throughout the years, but the one we have now really has some specialized skills when it comes to prosecuting impaired driving cases. He's worked both at the county level, he's worked out of state, and we're lucky enough to have him here in Seattle. He's a resource to all of the prosecutors in my office when they have impaired driving issues on their cases. He carries a caseload. He'll respond to briefs from the defense bar. He oftentimes handles motions or trials where there may be kind of some complex issues or high profile defendants and things like that. He also works really closely with the Seattle Police Department's impaired driving trainers. He provides training for SPD officers and also for prosecutors throughout the year on kind of the best tactics for investigating and prosecuting impaired driving cases. And, to the extent his schedule allows, he tries to kind of get out as well and go to other counties throughout the state and also work with other prosecutors' office and other law enforcement agencies to really share his talents. So really lucky to have, his name is Brad Lane, really lucky to have him in our office. I also wanted to touch on what SPD is doing during this time. So SPD is launching its DUI holiday emphasis patrols, and they are running from December 3rd, which is today, through New Year's Eve. And the team will include a lieutenant, a sergeant, and 6 patrol officers that are going to be on loan. And with the way they're able to align the schedules, SPD anticipates that we'll have full coverage 7 days a week with people that are specialized in this type of work out there, making sure our roads are a little bit safer during the holiday season. And I should note, I don't know if Captain Davison has logged on yet, but I was made aware that Captain Davison has been very generous with the use of his people who wanted to volunteer to work for this. We're pretty lucky. We have a couple really fantastic DUI officers and also drug recognition experts out of the North Precinct, and he's allowed graciously for them to be on loan to this holiday emphasis, which is really great. My office is also working with SPD and various other law enforcement agencies as part of King County's Target Zero emphasis. And so this is an emphasis that's, year-long, trying to get traffic fatalities down to 0. But this particular part of the emphasis is a specialized DUI patrol that's going to happen on December 19th. And so prosecutors from my office will team up with officers from SPD and essentially ride along with them and be able to provide on-the-spot legal advice if an officer needs it. It's a great partnership. It usually results in a ton of arrests, and ultimately it keeps our communities a little bit safer. And lastly, I see I'm close to time, but I did want to talk about a program that SPD uses. They currently have 23 Department of Health certified law enforcement phlebotomists, and they will likely have one that's assigned to this month-long holiday emphasis patrol. And this is a really great program SPD has. We're seeing more and more impaired drivers that are impaired by drugs. Oftentimes it's drugs and alcohol, but oftentimes it's just drugs. And the only way to effectively prosecute those cases is to have the officer get a sample of the suspect's blood. Prior to administering this program, an officer would have to take the suspect to the nearest hospital and, wait their turn in line essentially. And because it's, a lower thing, it would get triaged lower. And sometimes that would take officers off the roads, for hours on end while they're waiting to get this suspect's blood, which isn't good for anyone, right? We want our officers back on the street making more arrests. And so with this new phlebotomist program, we have officers that are certified to take the blood from a suspect. And so the officer that's making the arrest calls another officer, they come to the scene, and they can on the scene take the blood and properly put it into evidence or whatnot. And so it really cuts out a lot of the time there, and it's a really efficient way to do work, and it's the best way to get us the best evidence that we need to prosecute those cases. And so that's all I had tonight. I hope everyone has a safe holiday season. And takes if you take nothing away from this tonight, take away the fact that remember not to drive impaired, and tell that to your loved ones, and take away the keys and whatever you need to do.
Megan, I have a question for you. I don't see any others specifically in there for you in the chat, but is there any special legal, I don't know, warrant needed to take the blood from someone? Can it be taken
Yes.
involuntarily?
Well, so getting blood from a suspect is going to require a warrant or an exception to the warrant requirement. Generally speaking, a suspect is not going, the only exception that would really apply would be consent, and a suspect's going to be too impaired to legally give their consent. There could be exceptions where there is, for example, exigent circumstances where, let's say, the person's been in a serious collision and they're taking the person to the hospital and they need to receive medical care right then and there, and there's not enough time to get a warrant. And so an officer could, under those circumstances, say, we have to get this blood, this evidence out of the person under exigent circumstances. But in 99.99% of the cases, the officers are applying for search warrants, having it signed off by a judge, and then serving the warrant on the person to get the blood drawn.
Great. And one question that did come up is how much blood is required? A vial?
Ooh, I don't know the exact medical amounts, but I have seen it. It's like, when you go get your blood drawn at a doctor's office and there's like the standard vial that they fill up or whatnot, they take 2 of those, and they take 2 of them for the reason being that we want to be able to make sure we have the best evidence. And if one gets contaminated for some reason, we want to have a second one. Also, the defendant has a right to independently test the blood. So we would want to make sure they have the ability to take a blood vial themselves. So it's 2 of whatever kind of the standard vials are. And I don't know what that measurement is. Sorry, Jeff.
Jeff says that is 30 cc's.
There we go.
Good to know. Well,
right.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yes. Appreciate your time and a great update. And we will, I hope, see you again in January. Have a good holiday season.
You too.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Next up, Casey McNerthney from the King County Prosecutor's Office is here. Casey, we're doing fine for time because one of our speakers canceled. So you've got time, and we're still waiting for the captain to log in. So you probably have at least a solid 10 minutes, but we know you could extend it if needed.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah. If you need me to stall, I can do a tap dance or something. No.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
I will do a song and dance. We'll do the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
A couple of things to update you on. What Megan said is exactly right. The most common type of homicide to happen at random are vehicular homicides. Almost all of those cases are people who are going to work, going to Costco, going to a friend's house, and then they just out of nowhere get hit and killed. It's really awful. And Amy Friedheim is the head of the felony traffic unit. When Lisa Mannion took office a few years ago, she made a specialized unit, the felony traffic unit, which really I think is the best in the state. They do such great work. Adam Euchre and Hannah Godwin also support Amy in that work, and they are are such experts at it. If anybody ever wants to know more about that unit, maybe we could have one of them as a guest. But Megan said is exactly right. Of if there's anything you can do, if you see folks who are, everyone knows the person in their family or their friend group who sometimes can have too much. If you can keep them from driving, that might save their life, or certainly others, which we, more frequently see other people killed other than the drivers themselves. Um, a little quick shout out for Eric Mitchell, who's a DUI officer. I think still working out of North, or maybe he's roaming in the precincts, but he's excellent too. He's a really great asset um, to have at least patrolling the North Precinct. Um, a couple of notes. Last month when I was here, we talked about the budget and how that process was working at the county council level. Um, what Lisa asked for to get parity out of the general fund funding with the Department of Public Defense was 21 prosecutors, 21 legal support staff, and then 16 victim advocates. What we received were 8 victim advocates and 1 prosecutor. Uh, that's, we're really concerned about the workloads of our staff and our team because we want them to be able to do those important felony cases and not be burned out without case limits like DPD has. But we know that there's a lot of different budget priorities, and the council had some really hard decisions. But we're going to keep advocating for that. And I want to be clear that we're not trying to bash the council. We're just trying to show how important this work is that they do, and how our workload really isn't controlled by us. It is really truly responding to human behavior and the number of referrals that we get from Seattle police. We can't simply look at any type of cases, even if they're Class C felonies, and say, "Hey, we're overworked, so we're just not going to file these cases." That is pretty insulting to victims, and I think any victim of crime would agree with that. But the one prosecutor position that we received is going to be specified for juvenile ERPOs, and ERPOs are extreme risk protection orders. And what that is so far we've done a pilot program where when we have a kid who has firearms and they either have used it or have made serious threats to use it, such as school shooting threats, things like that, using the tool that was approved years ago by more than 70% of voters statewide to go in and serve an extreme risk protection order on their parents or their guardians and having those guns removed from the house. We know that if we do that, it will save lives. Just like those proactive DUI patrols that Megan was talking about. If you leave kids with guns, it there's a lot of risk there, and there's risk to themselves and to others and the community certainly. And so it's encouraging that we have at least that one position, and are very thankful to the council members for approving that, to work on that, and I will keep you posted on the results of that as things go along. Really great to have that position. Also, Eric Evans as the new city attorney. A few people have asked, how will that go? And right now, the King County Prosecutor's Office has the best communication that we've had, I think, ever with the city attorney's office. And Megan's a big part of that. We really, she's somebody who you can call any time of day and have as a great team member. And I'm sure that's going to continue under Eric Evans. Lisa is part of her transition team. We're going to make sure that communication continues. And what I think people want to know is that there's going to be good collaboration and good teamwork, and that victims will be served and that the community will be heard. And that's exactly what's going to happen. In terms of big cases, there's a few that have made headlines, not a lot in the North Precinct, but here's a recap of what you might see in the news and what the prosecutor's office is doing. There was a road rage case where there was I think it was a Porsche that was stolen and that was crashed this afternoon near 7th and Madison, I think it was. That was the stabbing actually out of that's on the SPD blotter. Just looking at it here, that happened this afternoon, so that'll probably be on the felony first appearance calendar tomorrow. There's also a hatchet attack in near Yesler Way that was referred to the city attorney's office rather than us because of the level of injuries. It was a gross misdemeanor, and there was also some drugs involved, which a possession under the law go to the city attorney's office. There was also a police vehicle that was rammed by a felon that was arrested. A police said he was armed, and so we'll likely get that one tomorrow for the felony first appearance calendar. There also was a murder case filed today out of South Seattle. Those are some of the big ones. We also anticipate getting the cases for the 4 juveniles who were in the I-5 shooting incident, where there were 4 arrests, and then I believe 2 or 3 folks who SPD was still looking for. We asked for all 4 of those juveniles to be held in secure detention. 2 were, and the court mentioned cases in other counties, 1 in Pierce, 1 in Snohomish County, so they will also be addressed there. 2 were released to electronic home detention. 3 of the 4 don't have previous cases with us, and so that's interesting to see them as first timers. But I will make sure that we, if anyone here has questions about that, and we'll also share that with reporters who have been asking about it, of what's happening with those cases. Rudy, I see a question here for you. Do you know what type of food is on the menu if arrested and taken to the King County Jail, specifically Christmas and New Year's Day? I don't. Noah Haglin would be the person to answer that. He would know for sure. Let me find it, Noah's contact real quick. He would probably do something, hopefully, at least, Noah's email is nhaglund, NHAGLUND at kingcounty.gov. He's a great guy. I'm sure if you email him, he'll get back to you tomorrow or this week. And I would be surprised if they don't do something that's at least a little unique for Christmas Day. Patricia asked that 7th and Madison incident was posted on the Citizen Premium phone app today. Oh, okay, good to know. I'm gonna keep folks posted on that one too. Not planning on it. Okay, got it. All right.
Okay. Well, I think we're in luck.
Is that stall long enough? Was that all right? Yeah.
The captain.
Or do I need to do the song and dance? I can do it.
He is. No,
Oh,
I think we're good. Let me make
I don't know.
sure.
I kind of want to see you dance.
Song and dance.
Oh, too.
I'm gonna play some Herb Alpert, and make it like old music.
Yes, I think that would be a great way to end our year. So I guess we'll remove the spotlight from you, Casey. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again in January.
Sounds great. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Put the spotlight on the captain, and you are sitting in your
police car,
correct?
Yeah.
That is
ma'am.
great. I think that's great. Actually, I have to say, if you recall, was it a month or 2 months ago, this is a far better picture than we had from your home computer, if you recall.
It's not my, I don't think it's my home computer. I usually take them from my work. So
okay.
I sit at my desk and do them. So I usually stay at work, but tonight I had a commitment outside of work. So
well, welcome. It's your time, and thank you for making the time to be with us. You're on.
Absolutely. Hey, real quick, I am on my phone, so any kind of questions, they'll have to come through you, Katie, because I won't be able to, keep
I will
up
do
and read
that.
them. So.
Yeah, I will do that.
Awesome. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well and that they had a good Thanksgiving, and hopefully you had some time with family and some quiet time. So I know I got back from a week with my family down in California, so it was a good kind of respite. So as I usually do, I'm going to start off with our current stats for the North Precinct. Let's go the last 28 days for violent crime, property crime, burglary, motor vehicle theft, and shots fired. So for violent crime, we're down 25% in the last 28 days. Property crime down 38%, burglaries down 30%, motor vehicle theft down 50%, and shots fired down 71%. That's a big drop. So that's over the last 28 days. And then year to date for violent crime, we're down 12%, property crime down 16%. Sorry, my eyes are getting a little bit older. Burglaries down 21%, motor vehicle theft down 29%, and shots fired down 24% year to date from last year. So some of the numbers are trending the right direction, which is really good. I mean, we never have our job complete for sure, but it's good to see numbers trending down. For other numbers for you real quick, arson is up 33% year to date. I already went over the violent crime, so moving on to larceny and theft is down 12%. Motor vehicle theft, again, down 29%. And I already mentioned burglary. So that is the year to date. And then shots fired, I did mention, down 71% over the last 28 days, which is a significant drop. And then also over the last, so for year to date, our grand totals for violent crime and property crime, the ones that we're mostly tracking, right? We track all crimes, but these are kind of the big categories that people think of. So year to date, we're down 15% over all those categories. And then in the last 28 days in the North Precinct, we're down 37% over all those categories. So some significant changes. A lot of that is due to the fact that we're no longer in the summer hours. A lot of kids are back in school. So a lot of the property crimes, the thefts, the party and the noise, some of the violence goes away once the kids get back in school. That doesn't account for all of it, but that the change in weather also helps. Um, so a couple of good things that happen in the North Precinct. I always like to shout out a couple of the officers that have done some really phenomenal work. We had two officers that were put in for life-saving awards recently. They had a juvenile that had tried to commit suicide. Ultimately, the officers responded to the scene and did CPR for over 5 minutes. This is after the parent was doing CPR on the person for a while as well. And there was about 5 minutes of the officers doing CPR before fire got there. And then fire took over and was able to get the juvenile's pulse back. And they ultimately saved that juvenile's life. So really good shout out there. That was Officer Carter and Officer Simmons, a student officer. So Officer Carter is a field training officer, and he was basically coaching his student officer through CPR, and they were able to save that child's life. So huge shout out to them. So they were put in for a department life-saving award as well. We had carjacking on third watch hours. This is about mid-month last month. In between, I try to do the things that happen between the two different CStat, or not CStats, but impacts. Carjacking on third watch at gunpoint down in the University District. The officers responded to the scene, found out that the vehicle had an AirTag in it, an Apple AirTag. They tracked the vehicle for some time using the Apple AirTag, and then it was a BMW. BMW, once it was officially reported stolen, BMW allowed us or provided tracking information. One second, excuse me. Provided tracking information for us. Officers were able to locate the vehicle a little bit to the north and at the QOC at 1110 or 11100 Roosevelt Way North, I believe. And once they got there, one person laid down pretty quickly and was taken into custody. Another one took off running, and a sergeant on third watch actually conducted a foot pursuit and took that person into custody. And then two of them got away, but both of the suspects were juveniles that were booked into YSC for robbery. One of them had kind of an extensive carjacking robbery history as well. So good shout out there. And then last one, I just try to do, I'll do four, sorry. This is a great incident. So there was a robbery at, and forgive me, I'm going off of memory. I did this presentation earlier in the day as well at our CSTAT where we present to our chiefs. But an officer was called to H Mart down in Ballard for a shoplifting suspect that ultimately turned into a robbery when he was tried to be detained by store security. From a bag, he pulled out a handgun and pointed it at the security officer and threatened to kill him. So the security officer backed up and let that person get away. And then, which is the right thing to do. A few days later, this is possibly the same suspect, but a few days later, there was a nuisance call where a person had fallen asleep on property that did not belong to them, and a knife, a very large kind of Bowie style knife, had fallen from his person. So officers arrived on that scene, secured the knife first in their patrol car because the person was asleep, to kind of prevent issues there. And then when they woke that person up, that person tried to go for a handgun inside of their satchel, which kind of, if you remember, it kind of sounds similar. It was kind of an over-the-shoulder satchel. And ultimately, the officers had to use a taser to restrain and arrest that person. And then inside that bag was a loaded firearm that he was attempting to go for. So, good situation in the sense that officers were safe and were able to take a dangerous person off the street. And then the last one that I'll talk about, this one was in the news, that some North End officers recently got shot at. Hang on one second. My daughter's getting in the car, so give me 1 second here. I'm going to turn off the video for a second. Apologies for that. So the very last incident that I'll talk about, so officers in the North Precinct at 105 in Aurora got an ALPR hit. That's an automatic license plate reader hit on while they were driving their patrol car of a stolen vehicle. We had plainclothes detectives, or plainclothes CRG, that's their community response group, that kind of do a lot of the proactive work. They were in the area. Ultimately, they tried to stop the vehicle. The vehicle took off at a high rate of speed and started driving recklessly. And at that point in time, we do not pursue for the fact that it's very dangerous for the public as well as officers and the subject for a stolen vehicle, which is a property crime. So the officers backed off, but the plainclothes officers kept tabs of the suspect or the suspects, and tried to keep them within eye shot. Ultimately, that the subject ultimately fired shots at that plainclothes officer. Guardian 1 was up, which is the helicopter from King County. They kept tabs on the vehicle until uniformed officers were able to stop that vehicle, and then officers were able to take a suspect into custody for that incident as well. So some really good work happening up in the North Precinct, and that just scratches the surface of the amount of work that's happening in the North Precinct, but a lot of dangerous incidents, a lot of officers saving some lives up here and doing some really good work to keep you safe. So with that, there was one question that I think I got right before I got to my event here was, how are we now taking care of people during the shopping season? Because we're going to have an influx of people downtown as well as in our shopping areas, to include the University Village and Northgate Mall area. So we actually had, we discussed this in our CSTAT today, which is, again, our presentation to our chiefs, our intention to have additional patrols around those shopping centers, around those shopping areas during those high frequency encounters, to try to show a visible presence and be there when we can to eliminate some of the or deter some of the property crime, property theft, robberies, things like that. So at that point, I will turn it back over to Katie to ask some questions.
Okay. First question, and I should call out that Megan thanked you before you got on, that in her update about some of the drunk driving, impaired driving things, you apparently are graciously allowing some of your very experienced officers to participate in that. So she let us all know that was really generous of you, because that's really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah. So did she explain what it was, what DrunkNet was?
I think so,
What that
but
is?
please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so this was the program that when I came on, we had it, and as we lost officers, we had to kind of do away with it. And oftentimes it was conducted by our traffic unit because they had a lot of experienced officers. And the idea is that over the holiday season, we put more officers on the third watch bar closing hours so that we can do DUI stops during the holidays to try to keep people safe while they're trying to spend time downtown with their families, go to different events. Just, during the holiday season, people tend to party a little bit too hard and then try to drive. And then we have a lot of difficulty with, people getting hurt, killed, injured while driving. So we try to staff, it's called DrunkNet. The idea is that we just have additional officers out there doing focused emphasis work on trying to identify DUI drivers. So they're trying to get them off the road so that they're not going to go out and hurt or kill somebody. So with that, we don't have as many people in our traffic unit as we used to. We have a very limited traffic unit. So they put out a request saying, hey, for the first time in umpteen years, not umpteen, like, 5 or 10 years, we would like to try to do DrunkNet again, but it's going to have to be precinct supplied people because the DUI unit or our traffic unit is not as large as it used to be, and we have only a few DUI specific officers. So they reached out to the precinct captains. I gave them, I want to say two officers on third watch, and then one officer or one sergeant on first watch that will be working that DrunkNet detail, and that's from December 1st through January 1st, I believe.
Great.
So, yeah, and one more quick update before we move on. We are getting officers on third watch, which was it's kind of nice. They recently gave me like 4 officers, and then they took them to start filling. They took other officers to start filling other units again. So I had one go to SAU, sexual assault unit. I had one go to, can't remember, like three different units they went to, and then one other person went out on injury or sick leave. But with that being said, we are now seeing more officers come in. In fact, I'm allowed to start moving people around in my precinct again, which is awesome. So a lot of people have had requests to move either from third watch to first watch or first watch to second watch, and we haven't been able to supply that or allow that because we haven't had the officers to backfill their positions. Now we're seeing officers come in off of FTO or field training. They go through the academy, and then they go through field training, and then they come out on the street. We're starting to see them filter in now, and we're starting to allow those in precinct transfers right now, which is awesome. It's a real benefit to people. Sometimes they want to trade hours because they just have been working third watch for a long time, and they want to go on to a day shift and start, giving back to their family. So it's really nice to see. We're starting to see that. I think we have 5 or 6 that we got within the last month. And then we also got 2 additional sergeants on third watch. So really excited to see that.
That's exciting news. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, looking at the chat. Given the issues in the North End parks, are there any special patrols planned around New Year's Eve for the North End parks, given the parties that have happened?
Yeah, so the parks are always a difficult situation. So I will let you know that our overtime allotment has been reduced significantly department-wide because we're trying to reduce our budget.
Yes.
So those emphasis hours, those augmentation hours, we can augment meaning that when we don't have enough people to work a certain watch, we can allow somebody from a different watch to come in early or stay late to continue on, right? So if we're under our minimum staffing, we can allow another watch to work for us, right? But that's on a voluntary basis, right? So if they say, hey, I see that you're short, you're down to however many officers, I'm willing to stay, then a sergeant can approve that, and then they can work through. So that's augmentation. And then the emphasis is like when we work those park details that we had been running over the summer, where we have staff additional officers on voluntary overtime. That overtime budget is very reduced. So at this point in time, if we can augment, we'll do that. But then the parks, we have been working with the parks department. They did put bollards down at Golden Gardens at Eddie Vine Boat Ramp recently. So they also hired a security company, an additional security company. So they have One security company that has been locking up Golden Gardens, but then nobody was taking care of the Eddie Vine boat ramp. So they have a separate private security company that they have working down there that is kind of monitoring that boat ramp to try to eliminate some of the noise and some of the issues down there. And then that same security company is working over at Magnuson as well. And then, yeah, I mean, ultimately it'll be on duty officers working those details and then trying to backfill and help with either augmentation or working with parks to try to handle some of the parks issues. But we have
Right.
to do it with, currently we have to do it with our on duty resources. So.
Okay. A couple questions about arson. Jeff's asking how many arson cases, and Patricia is saying she's noticed more illegal burns being listed in the data. Crime maps, they are lumped in with the arson category on that site. Are you getting a sense that that is increasing or?
Hang on, let me flip to my notes here. So not my notes, but my stats. So just to give you an idea, so with regards to arson, yes, they are up, but the total for the entire year for the North Precinct is 48. So it's not this overwhelming number. It's just, I mean, small numbers with small gains equal big percentage, right? So, you know, we went from 36 the prior year to 48 this year. So we 12 change, right? 12 incident change. So we went up 33% on that. And that's not to negate the fact that it's gone up. That's just saying that, you know, it's not necessarily a very large increase. And I've said this before, and it's really difficult to determine. I did look at the university district because we had an increase in the number of fires that were happening in the university district. So I actually went through and I pulled every single report and I read through every single report. And a lot of those were either warming fires. We had one person catch themselves on a fire, catch themselves on fire while using a warming fire. So
Right.
Siri is trying to talk to me. Hang on. Okay, Siri's turned off. So you know, I can't really specify. Nobody has pinpointed. I will also say when you look at the map, we have pinpoint maps of where things are happening. If you look at the pinpoint map, there's not like a centralized location where arsons are happening. It's kind of sporadic throughout the North Precinct. So, you know, some of them can be illegal burns where, you know, somebody starts a fire that they're not supposed to, like a warming fire, or they started on a loading dock or things like that, or they light a dumpster on fire at another location. Those are all considered arsons. So,
Great.
it's kind of a difficult thing unless we catch one suspect that's lighting a bunch on fire. It's hard to link that.
Great. Okay, so we've got, let's see, Don Blakeney says thanks for the update on the carjacking. Um,
Oh,
Nancy
one
says,
thing for
yes.
Dawn for the university district, I have our CSOs right now doing foot beats down there as well, in addition to our officers. So I don't know if you've seen an increase. I've been checking in with them, but they have also indicated that they are down there working. I talked to not only the supervisor Peter a couple like 2 days ago, I believe. I also talked to Jane Dorr tonight, and they absolutely said that they are doing foot beats down there between 40th and 50th on U Way in Brooklyn. So
That's super helpful. I haven't seen them yet, but that's great news, and I appreciate all the help we can get. So thank you.
absolutely, any kind of uniform presence is better than nothing, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. If they want to check in at any point with us and what we're seeing, happy to like give them information if that's useful.
perfect.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. Nancy, it says it's been in the news about various cities stopping use of their license plate readers since federal government can access them. Does SPD have security data settings so that's not an issue in Seattle?
I don't know. I that's not something that is in my purview. It's something I would have to find out. So I don't believe that we share with any kind of federal partners, but I don't know. I don't want to say one thing or another and have it misquoted. So
Okay.
I would have to do some research on that and find out.
Okay. We can maybe follow up next month.
Sure.
Leon asks,
So
Captain,
one thing that I did see was that Linwood is not using the flock camera. I saw that in a newspaper article. And I think that that's what we're talking about. The flock camera, I think, is accessible by outside sources. ALPR is different than flock.
And
So
ALPR is what Seattle Police uses?
yes, and so those
Okay.
are in our car. Those are the ones that are running plates for stolen and for like warrants and things like that. It's automatic license plate readers, ALPR.
Okay. Leon asks, what effect will the recently reported limits on SPD overtime have on the North Precinct's ability to deal with crime, given the still low number of officers?
Yeah, like I said, our officer numbers are increasing, and we still have the ability to augment officers from different watch. I will say that a lot of our officers work multiple watches. So they're doing that not only to help out the staffing, but they're also, it's essentially what overtime is available on the department right now. So officers are offering to stay later and work those additional shifts. So our numbers, we're allowed to augment up to our minimum required allotment of officers. So with overtime, I mean, if we see an increase, we can request overtime, but it has to be approved by a chief right now. So
As a follow-up to that, do you see more folks coming in the door in the coming months as they come through the pipeline after the academy?
yeah, we're getting every couple weeks we're getting people through. I did hear that recently. I think there was one academy class that was canceled down in Burien, but that's not SPD. That's the Burien Academy canceling a class, and so we just have to wait until the next one. But that doesn't. I mean, we have a lot of officers. I know on second watch today, I saw 3 or 4 different student officers that are learning from their FTOs right now. So we have a lot that are in the pipeline that are working their way through the process, and they're trying to bolster our numbers as much as possible as the new officers come in. They're trying to fill those spots. So, and we were told not too long ago that November, December, and January we'd be seeing a flow of officers. So that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
good,
I mean, they're going to continue trickling after that, but more chunks in November, December, January.
great. Rudy is calling out to you that Eric, is it pronounced Mishi or Michelle, is one of,
Mitchell.
of Seattle DUI's finest.
Yes. So Eric Mitchell used to be in the DUI squad. And then when the DUI squad was I don't. I want to say I don't know if it was cut, but due to the lack of officers that we had on the street, they had to reduce the number of people that were in specialty units, including traffic and the DUI unit. So at one point in time, Eric Mitchell had to be brought back to patrol, and then they put him, or he got the opportunity to go to CRG as essentially a DUI asset for CRG, which is awesome. Remember, they're the proactive unit. So he goes out and he does traffic enforcement and DUIs constantly. And I can absolutely attest to it working with Eric Mitchell for years. He can do a DUI faster than most officers can do a regular arrest because he's done so many of them. And he has done some really good work for the community members in Seattle, trying to take care of them and keep the streets safe. So, Rudy, I 100% agree with you.
That's great. Nice call out. Okay, Rick says license plate readers legislation is to be considered in Olympia in January. About 20 states, not Washington, have regulations. So are you familiar with that?
I'm not, but I think that Megan, as long as it's legislation, Megan probably has a little bit more information on it than I do. She tends to follow the
Yes.
updates and the laws that are coming down the pipeline. I tend to deal with them once they hit and they become law, and then I have to abide by them. But as they're coming through the pipeline, a lot of the times things, bills, and processes, they break down, and so they don't necessarily become law. It's good
Yeah,
to know that they're there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you know that it's definitely going to make it, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I just wait until I'm told by my legal unit, hey, we have a new law that we have to enforce, or we have to stop using this, or we have to start using this. And then we abide by that.
that's great. Megan has just put in the chat that she is sorry she does not know about this one. So,
Okay.
so you know
We'll do
what?
some research.
That's right. We'll keep an eye on it. So we've reached the end of our questions in the chat. If anybody else has something else for the chat, speak up. But I think we are at the end of your time. Anything else to throw in for the good of the order, Captain?
No, I would just say, going into the holidays, make sure that you're taking care of your loved ones as well as your vehicles and your property. So if you go out shopping and you leave bags of stuff in your car, you're likely going to become a target, right? I mean, theft, it tends to be a crime of opportunity. So if you see an easy target, if you see your purse, if a criminal sees a purse on your seat, if they see a backpack on your seat, if they see a bag full of brand new purchased anything, uh, then they know that that's an opportunity for them to make money. So they will steal those up, break your window, steal your items, and go out and sell them. So please try to lock up your cars. Make sure that you keep your valuables hidden. Or I don't know why Siri keeps popping off at me tonight. But yeah, lock up your valuables. Make sure you're locking your doors and your windows and taking care and looking around you, especially like if you've got a handful of stuff, make sure you know your surroundings. I'm not saying that you have to go around and be super vigilant everywhere, but it is very beneficial to everybody if you know what your surroundings are and you know whether or not you're safe to be where you're at. And so
Right.
I just say
Right.
be safe during the holidays because there are people out there looking to take advantage of others. So
That's great. Thank you.
yeah.
And I will pull in one last thing from Jeff Silverman saying the issue of license plate readers is very complicated because it represents a direct collision between the needs of law enforcement and the needs of citizens for privacy. So, I mean, that's great context. Thank you, Jeff. And so with that and with your recommendation, we look out for each other. I think we are at our last North Pack for the year. Thank you so much for all you do for us and supporting North Pack. We appreciate your presence here. And I hope you and your family have a great holiday season and get a little time off.
Absolutely. And just a shout out to the North Precinct officers. They're doing phenomenal work out here. So
Yeah, that's
I
great.
appreciate all your support. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you all. Thanks very much. And with that, folks, we've reached the end of the December meeting. Thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it. As you know, the recording will be available pretty shortly. We'll put it out there. And we will also get a copy of the presentation and send that out along with our minutes that we do. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful holiday season and take care of yourselves. And I'm going to ask that the board stay on and the rest of you go ahead and sign off. Thank you very much.